My name is Rachel Monroe, I'm 29, and my sister cut me out of her wedding as if I didn't exist, so I decided to ruin her fairy tale without saying a single word. If you've ever faced something like this, comment where you're reading from. It was Sunday, 1722, when I opened my mailbox and found the ivory envelope addressed in Mom's neat handwriting. I expected to see both of our names listed on the invitation, mine and my fiancé's. Instead, my stomach dropped as I read the embossed letters. You are cordially invited to the wedding of Claire Monroe and Daniel Hart. Just her name. Just him. No +1. No mention of me being maid of honor, though she'd promised me that role years ago in a whispered teenage pact. I turned the card over in my hands. The paper smelled faintly of roses and expensive ink, but to me it reeked of betrayal. That night at dinner, I asked Mom if there'd been a mistake. She set her fork down, her voice tight. Your sister said she wanted a small, intimate wedding. Don't take it personally. Small? I thought bitterly. The venue was a country estate with a guest list pushing 180 people. But apparently, I didn't count among the intimate. Across the table, my fiancé, Michael, a surgeon with a laugh that could disarm anyone, squeezed my hand under the napkin. He didn't say a word, but his eyes told me, don't fight. Not yet. I stayed quiet, even when Dad cleared his throat and muttered, you'll understand someday. But my silence wasn't surrender. As I washed the dishes later, the smell of lemon soap clinging to my hands, I made a decision. If she wanted a stage without me, fine. But I wouldn't sit in the shadows. I didn't know yet that in just 5 weeks, while she walked down an aisle pretending I was invisible, I'd be in Italy posting a photo that would make her fairy tale collapse in front of everyone she was trying to impress. 3 days later at 10:45 a.m. I sat in the corner booth of a coffee shop, laptop open, scrolling through the wedding website my cousin had accidentally forwarded me. The site was slick, with pastel pink headers and looping violin music in the background. Guest list. 182 confirmed. Venue. Lakeview Manor, with manicured lawns and chandeliers imported from France. Roles: bridesmaids included 2 college friends, 1 coworker, and even our neighbor's daughter. My name wasn't there. The sting wasn't just exclusion, it was replacement. I scrolled slower, my hand tightening around the ceramic mug. Photos of the bride tribe grinned back at me in matching silk robes. The caption under one shot read, "The sisters I chose. Chosen sisters." As if blood didn't matter. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Don't make waves. It's her special day. I typed back. She erased me. Mom replied instantly, "Please, Rachel. Family comes first." I laughed bitterly, the sound catching the attention of the barista steaming milk nearby. Family? Whose family was she defending, hers or mine? When I got home that afternoon, Dad was in the living room polishing his shoes, the smell of leather polish heavy in the air. I stood in the doorway, invitation card in hand. Why wasn't I included? I asked flatly. He didn't look up. Your sister said you'd steal attention. She wanted a clean image. I blinked, heat rising in my chest. Steal attention? She cut me out of her life. She's the bride, he muttered, shrugging. Let her have this. The dismissal landed like a slap. I turned away, the card crumpling slightly in my grip. Upstairs, I opened my closet, staring at the neatly packed suitcase from our last vacation. Michael and I in Santorini, the sea glittering behind us. A memory sparked. His hand on mine, whispering, next trip somewhere bold. Somewhere they'll never expect. I reached for the suitcase handle. If she thought cutting me out would keep me small, she had miscalculated. Because I had the means, the partner, and the will to flip her fairy tale script on its head. Growing up, Claire and I were less than 2 years apart, but the gap often felt like an ocean. As kids, we shared a bedroom until I was 10. The scent of her strawberry shampoo always hung in the air, mixing with the faint mildew from the old wallpaper. At night, we whispered plans into the dark. How we'd be in each other's weddings, how we'd name our daughters after one another, how we'd never let anything come between us. But cracks showed early. Claire was the golden child. Always front row in family photos, always praised for her grades. I was the one who fixed things. When the dishwasher broke at 15, I figured out the wiring. When Mom needed errands done, I was the one sent out. By high school, her spotlight grew. Prom queen candidate cheer squad captain. I remember standing backstage at the spring concert, my hands smelling of chalk from moving stage props, while she shone under the lights. In college, the divide sharpened. I went into nursing 12-hour shifts, scrubs that smelled like disinfectant, textbooks piled high. Claire majored in communications, posting curated photos of brunches, spa weekends, and trips to Miami on Instagram. Still, I clung to the promises we'd made. When I graduated at 22, she handed me a silver bracelet and said, "You'll be my maid of honor someday, no matter what." No matter what. So when the wedding invitation arrived without my fiancé's name, without my role, without me, it wasn't just exclusion. It was betrayal of years of childhood whispers, of bracelets and late-night vows. And what's at stake now isn't just pride. It's narrative. In her story, I don't exist. In mine, I will write myself back in louder than she ever imagined. The unfairness festered, but I refused to scream or beg. Instead, I dug out the bracelet from the back of my jewelry box, tarnished now, the clasp stiff. I turned it in my hands, metal cold against my skin, and thought, she broke the promise first. And when someone breaks a promise, you don't chase them. You answer in silence and action. The first real crack of proof came late one night, when I couldn't sleep. The clock on my nightstand blinked 0:37, the room heavy with the hum of the radiator. I opened my laptop and pulled up the wedding website again. This time I dug deeper into the hidden tabs, details for vendors, our story, even the bridal party bios. My eyes narrowed as I scrolled. There it was in bold script. Claire's chosen sisters, Jessica, Megan, and Alyssa. Next to each name, glossy headshots in matching pink dresses. Underneath, a caption Claire must have written herself. "The women who've always stood by me." Always. I muttered under my breath. I had been the one beside her at every doctor's appointment, every fight with mom, every time she cried over breakups. My hand shook as I reached for my phone and snapped screenshots. The bios, the photos, the tagline about chosen sisters. Each file saved with the date and time glowing faintly in the corner. A buzz lit up my screen. A new text from mom. "Your sister's stressed. Please don't bring up the wedding again. Just show up, smile, and don't make her feel guilty." I stared at it until the letters blurred. Don't make her feel guilty? I added that screenshot to the folder too. Proof not just of exclusion but of the conspiracy to silence me. Next morning, over coffee that smelled too bitter, Michael leaned across the table. "You're collecting evidence." I nodded. Receipts, screenshots, texts. Not to fight her. To remind myself I'm not imagining this. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a glossy brochure he'd tucked away from our last trip planning session. The cover. A Tuscan villa draped in vines, stone walls glowing gold under the sun. "We could go here," he said. "During her wedding." The idea landed heavy and sweet. I held the brochure, the paper thick under my fingers. That afternoon, I placed it inside the same folder as the screenshots, labeling everything under one name. Proof of erasure. I didn't shout. I didn't argue. I simply gathered. Because when the time came to answer, my reply would need no words. The following Thursday at 18:05, I sat across from my best friend Tara in a booth at Bar Loom. The low hum of jazz in the background, the air thick with the smell of fried garlic knots. My folder, digital and printed, rested on the bench beside me, a silent witness to weeks of betrayal. I told her everything. The missing +1. The chosen sisters caption. The text from mom. Her brows knit tighter with each detail. Finally she leaned forward, hands wrapped around her glass of soda. "Ratch, you're not crazy. She's rewriting the family story, and your parents are letting her." My throat burned. So what do I do? Show up anyway, sit in the back like a stranger? Tara shook her head. "No. You show her you don't need her script. Write your own." I hesitated. Michael keeps talking about Italy. The villa brochure is still on our counter. But isn't that petty? She smiled sharp. Petty would be posting nasty comments online. This is reclaiming. You worked 12-hour shifts through nursing school. You built your life. Why not enjoy it on your terms? Her words echoed later that night as I lay in bed. The sheets cool against my skin, city traffic humming faintly outside. The next morning I met with Michael at 9:30 in our small kitchen, the kettle whistling. He flipped open his tablet, scrolling through travel options. We could book Florence 5 nights. Round trip $3,200 for both of us. Or Amalfi slightly more, but... I set my mug down, steam curling between us. Do it. During her wedding weekend. He looked up, searching my face. You're sure? I nodded slowly. She wanted me invisible. Fine. But I'll be radiant somewhere else. The calendar on the wall blinked back at me. Her wedding date circled in silver marker, June 24th. My plan took shape around it like a frame snapping into place. No confrontation. No fight. Just absence, loud and undeniable. I closed the folder of receipts and brochures, slid it into my drawer, and felt the weight of resolve settle over me. For the first time in weeks, the question wasn't what if. It was when. On June 22nd, 2 days before the wedding, I stood in the departures terminal at JFK with Michael, suitcase wheels rattling over the tiles. The air smelled of strong espresso from the kiosk and jet fuel drifting in from the runways. My phone buzzed every few minutes. Family group chat exploding with photos of table settings, manicures, rehearsal dinners. I didn't open them. Instead, I snapped my own. A photo of our passports resting on the boarding passes. Rome Italia. I posted it to Instagram with a single caption. New chapters deserve new scenery. Within an hour, 3 cousins had liked it. By the next morning, I woke in Florence to dozens of notifications. Screenshots sent by friends. Claire's flipping out. She saw your post. Michael laughed as we sat at a cafe. The smell of fresh croissants mingling with roasted coffee. You didn't even mention her, and yet. He raised his cup in a toast. Effective. On June 24th, the day of the wedding, we were in Tuscany. The villa's stone courtyard glowed gold under the afternoon sun. Michael took a photo of me in a pale silk dress, vineyard stretching behind me. He posted it with the words, "Grateful for this woman and this moment." That one hit harder than anything I could have scripted. Because while she was parading down an aisle in Lakeview Manor, guests whispering about my absence, the feed she craved attention from was full of me instead. Laughing in Italy, radiant in light she couldn't dim. My phone buzzed again. A message from Mom. Your sister's devastated. Why would you upstage her? I stared at the screen, the Tuscan hills rolling endless beyond me. Then I typed back. I didn't upstage. I lived. No exclamation point. No apology. Just fact. And that was the lever. Not shouting, not crashing her wedding, but choosing joy so loud it echoed louder than their exclusion. Back in New York, while they toasted and posed, my silence was the statement, and my presence elsewhere was the proof. By the time we landed back in New York on June 30th, my phone was a battlefield. Voicemails stacked one after another. Mom's tight, trembling voice. Rachel, you ruined her day. People kept asking where you were. Dad's gruff tone. You embarrassed the family. Everyone noticed your little stunt. And my sister's message, broken with hiccup sobs. You made it about you as always. You should have just stayed quiet. I played them once, then set the phone down on the marble counter of our apartment. The Tuscan sun was still warm in my bones, the scent of vineyard earth still clinging to my suitcase. Their words slid right off me. But the fallout didn't stop with phone calls. My cousin sent me a group photo from the reception. My sister in her lace gown, eyes puffy from crying, her forced smile tight as a bowstring. Guests around her whispered, some glancing at their phones. My Italy photos had been making the rounds, reshared by mutual friends. Everyone said you looked stunning, my cousin typed under the photo. Honestly, you overshadowed her without even being there. Michael read the message over my shoulder and smirked. Proof that living well is the revenge. Meanwhile, whispers spread through the family tree. At July's 4th of July cookout, an aunt pulled me aside near the grill, smoke curling into the hot air. I never liked how she treated you, she said quietly. Maybe now people will see it. And at work, colleagues who had once teased me about being the forgotten sister, now pointed at my vacation album wide-eyed. Florence? Amalfi? Girl, you leveled up, one nurse said during our break, laughter bouncing off the sterile hospital walls. The consequence was this. My absence from her wedding became the loudest presence in the room. She had wanted me invisible. Instead, I became unforgettable. And as for me, I stopped checking their voicemails. The inbox filled, then overflowed. Their outrage no longer mattered. I had reclaimed my narrative. It was mid-July when my sister finally gathered the nerve to confront me directly. The text came at 21:07. "We need to talk. Stop hiding." 10 minutes later, she called. Against my better judgment, I answered. Her voice was raw, still sharp around the edges. "Do you have any idea what you did? People whispered all night. Half my guests showed me your posts. You made me look pathetic." I sat on the balcony, the summer air thick with city heat, cicadas buzzing faintly in the distance. "I didn't make you look pathetic," I said calmly. "I lived my life. You're the one who erased me from yours." "That's not true," she snapped. "It was my day, Rachel. My choices." I glanced at the bracelet she'd once given me, the tarnished silver catching a faint glint from the streetlight. And my choice was not to sit in the back row of a party where I was never wanted. She was silent, then hissed. "You think posting pictures made you better than me?" I opened my laptop, pulling up the folder labeled proof of erasure. Screenshots of her wedding website glowed back. The sisters I chose. My thumb brushed the trackpad. "You wrote I wasn't your sister anymore. Those were your words, not mine." On the line, her breath hitched. "That wasn't, it was for show. For aesthetics." "Then aesthetics cost you a sister," I said. My voice was steady, quiet, factual. "You told the world I didn't exist. I believed you." The line went dead for a long moment, then she whispered, "You'll regret this. Family is forever." I stared into the dark street below. Maybe family is forever, but so are choices. I ended the call, dragged her message into a folder, and closed the laptop. The truth gap had shut completely. Her narrative, my evidence. There was no bridge left between us. For the first time in months, I slept without dreams. It's October now, 3 months since that final call. And my life feels sharper, clearer, quieter. Most mornings I wake up before sunrise. The apartment smells of fresh coffee and toasted bread as Michael leaves for the hospital, his white coat slung over his arm. I water the basil plant on the windowsill, open my notebook, and write down goals for the next 6 months. Finish my graduate coursework, save $12,000 more for our future house, plan a winter trip to Lisbon. The bracelet Claire once gave me sits at the back of my drawer. Tarnished, forgotten. I don't wear it anymore, but I also don't throw it away. It reminds me of what promises can become when they're broken. My parents still call occasionally, mostly short, clipped messages. "She's struggling. Please reach out." I don't respond. Not out of cruelty but clarity. My boundary is simple. I don't chase those who chose to cut me out. On weekends I meet Tara for brunch, laughter echoing over clinking glasses. Sometimes I catch myself imagining Claire's reaction if she saw me now. Balanced, confident, thriving. But then I let the thought go. Because her reaction isn't part of my story anymore. In my living room, a framed photo from Italy rests on the shelf. Me standing in that Tuscan courtyard, sunlight spilling across my dress. It isn't about overshadowing her anymore. It's about remembering the moment I chose myself, fully, without apology. Tonight I'll light a candle, pour a glass of wine, and map out next year. No guilt. No erasure. No begging for space in someone else's celebration. I am not the forgotten sister. I am the woman who writes her own story. And this time the ending is mine.